We're smoking.
I know some people prefer to use lighter fluid because it's faster and easier, but this is the only proper way to start charcoal briquettes. If you're going to use charcoal, this is the way to do it. Put it in a charcoal chimney, little piece of paper underneath, fire it up. No funny taste, no poisonous chemicals. Just paper, which is made of wood, and charcoal, which is also made of wood. And then I also use real wood for my smoking and heating purposes, which you'll see in a little bit. So let's get to smoking. What we're going to do today here on Putt Nuts, I'm Putt Nut, in case you're wondering, we are going to be firing up this bad boy. Now, where did I get the money to buy that thing? They retail for 250 bucks. Well, I was driving home a few months ago. Somebody had it sitting out in front of their house for free. He said it had always been garaged and only been used about a half dozen times. And it's in such great shape, I believe him. So we're going to fire this puppy up and we're going to smoke us some pork and chicken today. So follow along here and see how we do it. And this is what we're going to be cooking tonight. We got some pork chops, some sirloin in, bone in pork chops. They're thick cut. You can see they're about an inch and a quarter thick. And 3 days ago I took this meat, I seasoned it well, packaged it up, let it soak in the back of the fridge, and now it's ready to be cooked. Back here I have two different kinds of chicken thighs, because that's what was cheap and that's what I got. Got a 40-pound box of chicken leg quarters, cut the drumsticks off and froze them. And I have 6 thighs on the left that are hot and spicy, 6 thighs on the right that are savory. We're going to take them out on the grill and we're going to smoke them. Not on the grill, on the smoker, I'm sorry. But we're going to smoke them up and we'll show you what they look like when we get done. We'll show you how to do it, how to take care of them. We're going to do this right. What we do is we come over here to our wood pile and we pick out a few nice pieces of wood that we can use. Some big, some small, that we can pack in there, and I'll show you how we do it. Okay, I stacked the wood pieces in there. This is oak that was cut fresh about a month and a half, 2 months ago, so it's still mostly green. It'll burn slow and put out some nice smoke. And I just dump that charcoal right in the middle of there, and it'll light all the wood. And I need to add a little bit of water to that right there, and then we're ready to go. And to get it started, I'm going to open it up to really let that fire get to going. And then we'll close it down to make some smoke. And you'll see how that works in a few minutes here. Been raining off and on today, so that'll make it interesting. Okay, our charcoal is pretty much ready to go. So let's take this over and dump it in there. We'll dump it in our cooker and you'll see how it goes in. Just dump it right there in the middle. See how it fills that hole in the middle, and that'll get her cooking. That'll get that wood all started. Then when we take our wet wood chips out, we'll dump them right over top of the charcoal. But first, I'm going to go get a few more pieces of charcoal to throw on top of that to make sure we have a nice hot fire. What we have here is our wood chips. We have them soaking in some nice warm water. It did just soak up warm water a little better. These are maple. Maple's all I have left. We're not too far away from moving, so I didn't want to go buy more. But normally I use apple and hickory mixed together. I call it hickap. And it makes some of the best smoke, especially when you have a little bit of that oak to go with it. It really gives it a wonderful flavor. Now we soak these in water for a while to moisten them so that they don't burn, so that they'll smoke. And you'll see in a bit what we do with those. As you can see, the new charcoal I put in there is starting to take hold. The fire's starting to catch on the wood a little bit. I'm going to have a nice hot fire here soon. I've got the water added. You can see it's got a little steam coming off it already. And I even lined the bottom with aluminum foil, which just helps make cleanup a little easier. You want to leave a little room in your water pan because that stuff is going to drip into it and you don't want it to overflow because that really makes a mess. Yeah, I learned that the hard way. So I need to get this closed before it catches too hot a fire. I'll close the door, start putting the meat on in a minute. As you can see, we got the pork in there. You don't need to leave a whole lot of room around the edges for the smoke. Some people think you do, but first of all, the meat shrivels up and makes plenty of room for the smoke later on. And second of all, it all comes out that little hole, and you're going to close it halfway. How much room does it really need to get around that meat? Little spot here, little spot there. That's plenty. Okay, we've got everything in there. You can see we got the pork up here on the top shelf, a little bit of the savory chicken in the front, the rest of the savory chicken in the back, and the spicy chicken in the front on the second shelf. And you might be thinking, well, what about cross-contamination? Should that chicken be touching that pork? Well, no, not if you plan on eating the pork raw. But after it smokes in the high heat, 200 degrees for 3, 4, 5 hours, however long it takes to get it done, there won't be any living germs to worry about. That chicken will be fall apart tender, that pork will be fall apart tender, and delicious. You'll see how it's done. Just stay tuned. Okay, I just closed it up. We got it wide open. It should be really hot coming out of there. Yep, it should start heating up quickly. Get the fire cooking. We got a nice hot fire cooking in there. So I'm going to go in. I'm going to wait a few minutes, and I'm going to bring out the smoke chips, put the smoke chips on. And when you put the smoke chips on, you close this down. Not too much. You don't want to put your fire out and lose your heat, but you got to close this down. Otherwise, it just burns them up, and they don't smoke very much. Okay, we've got our smoke chips out here. It looks like we've already got a good source of heat going. It's already up to almost 200. So we don't want to let it get too hot too fast. Now we're going to open that up. And I already drained the water off of these, so just going to sprinkle them on there. Save a few for later. Got a nice pile on there. Look at the smoke already starting to roll. Close that up. And this is where this comes in. You close this down pretty low because you really want it to smoke. You want to close it down until the smoke starts coming out the bottom down here on this particular kind. See the smoke oozing out the door, coming out from down below. That way you know the smoke is backed up all the way down, and that thing is full of smoke slowly seeping up through there. And that's really going to soak into your meat and just give it so much flavor. You can see how that smoke's just rolling out of there. That's what you want. You want lots and lots of smoke, but not too much heat. It shouldn't be too hot. Now, as you can see there, only about 175, maybe 180. That's where you want it to be when you got the smoke in there, because you don't want it to start cooking before it gets done smoking, really. You just want it to warm up with a little bit of smoke. In about 20 minutes, half an hour of that, I'll open it up a little bit, and then I'll show you the trick to making sure that your smoked meats turn out perfect every time. And your friends will wonder, how did you do that? Okay, it's been a little while, maybe a half hour or so. Forgot to look at the clock, to tell you the truth. But I can tell by looking, it's getting about time to do the magic and open this up a little bit. Then we can get this stuff cooking. Because the smoking part's just about over. There's not a lot of smoke left coming out of there compared to what there was. That means we just have a cooking fire. So, let me go get the secret and I'll show it to you. So as you can see, everything's had a good smoke. Now it just needs a good cooking. So what we do, we take the pieces of meat and we'll put, these are quite large. I don't know if we'll get 2 of them in there. That's kind of the secret. And you just take them, and you wrap them loosely. You don't want to wrap them solid tight, just wrap them loosely to keep them from getting too much smoke on them and keep them from drying out. And then we'll just, for now, we'll just set that aside. Oops, almost dropped it. Anyway, I've got to have 2 hands for this. So anyway, that's what you do, is you wrap it up loosely like that, and then you put them all back in the smoker and turn up the heat a little bit and let them cook. Okay, so now what we do, after we get them wrapped, we just take them and we put them back in there. Pretty much the way they were. we just put them back in there like that. Don't have to be sealed tight. Just make sure you cover them up good enough that they don't get over smoked, they don't get over dried, where they can get some heat. And they'll finish cooking in there, basically baking with a little bit of smoke, just like that. A couple more hours at about 200 degrees, and these things will be fall apart tender and absolutely delicious. So that's the trick right there. You wrap them in foil after about a half hour when the smoke dies down before you start cooking them. And they'll stay juicy and tender, and they won't get over smoked, and they won't get dried out. Okay, I got everything in there. It's all ready to go. It's wrapped to protect it from getting too much smoke and getting too dried out. I put in a couple more chunks of oak to make sure I have a nice long-lasting hot fire. And you can see I still have water left. You always got to check that. And you can see how I protected myself from the mess too. So let's close it up. And the last thing you want to do, open it up. Let a little more air through so it'll get hotter. We'll have to keep an eye on that temperature. Don't want it to go over about 200. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes or so since I opened the top up all the way to let it get hot. You can see we went from 150 to a little over 170 already, so I'll keep an eye on it about every 20-30 minutes. When it gets to 200, I'll close that hole up a little bit so it'll slow it down. And that's how you do it. You just keep it low and slow. Cook it around 180 to 200 for about 3, 4, or 5 hours. Gets it nice and tender and juicy. Okay, you can see, I think you can see anyway, that it's just shooting out of there like water out of a barrel. It's really cooking. I can smell it. And we're up to about 200 now, or actually just a fuzz over 200. So I don't want it to get any hotter. I don't want it to keep getting hotter. So we close this down a little bit to slow down the heat so it doesn't overheat. We want it to cook nice and slow on a nice low temperature. So we'll come back out and check it again in about 20 minutes. Make sure I didn't close it too far. And see how it looks. Okay, we have it closed down some. Let's see what that temperature is doing. Staying steady, just a little under 200, which is about perfect. That's perfect. That's right where we want it to stay. About another hour at that temperature. If it doesn't move, and we'll pull it out and let you see what it looks like. Okay, here we are. We got them all ready to go. They look like they're done to me. So we're going to take them inside, unwrap them, see what they look like, and more importantly, see what they taste like. Okay, here we are. We got a couple pieces of pork chop there. We got a nice juicy piece of chicken that we can chomp on. We're going to see how they taste. Let's try the pork chop first.
That's good.
Yes, it is. I'm going to save that piece. I gotta try the chicken. Get your piece of chicken. The chicken's got a good flavor. That's good. It's nice and juicy, slow and low. So there you go. Some nice smoked pork chops and smoked chicken. And that chicken's a little on the spicy side, but not too bad. Put some sriracha in there. So thanks for watching.